Hi everyone, welcome back to Accent and this is Thanya teacher with you. Shall we start with our first year Communicative English lesson? So let's begin with our first unit, that is the art of communication. What do you think is the art of communication? Do you think communication is an art? To communicate effectively is of course an art. There is no doubt about it. Because you know very well that even in your classroom it is so. A person who talks entertain others, not simply talking blah blah, no, and irritating people. Not that, I mean a person who entertain others with their talk is always admired by your friends. We all like to make friends with him or her. But a person who is very reserved, doesn't smile at others and always, keep a long face and sits very quietly will have very less friends. Because people like people who communicate very well. Okay? Let us begin our lesson with a story. You all like stories, right? Shall I tell you a story for you? Okay, listen. And the story is about Mr. Ben. And you will ask me, who is Mr. Ben? Mr. Ben was a boy like you. One day, while he was going to school, he met with an accident. Maybe a boat accident or something. He was lost in the sea. He tried to swim and managed to reach an island. Unfortunately, it was a deserted island. And you know what is a deserted island, right? A place where there is no one else. Okay. And Mr. Ben was all alone there. What he had with him was only his school bag. And poor fellow, he tried to survive himself by eating fruits and drinking water in the island. And you know what a pathetic situation he is in. An island is a place which is surrounded by water. And this particular island which Mr. Ben reached is a deserted island and there is no one else. There is nobody to talk to. There is nobody to listen to. And it is a very sad situation. And he became very sad. But somehow he survived. And years passed. Mr. Ben grew older. Older in the sense not a very old man. I mean some years passed. And one day an idea struck him. Guess what it is? He had his notebook and a pen and water bottle and all the things you have in your bag, right? He also had those things in his bag. So he took out a piece of paper from his bag and jotted down a message and a kind of SOS message. And then he tore it down and put it in his water bottle, closed it and floated it in the water. And he waited there hoping against hope. Means it's been years he is left in that island and so far nobody has come there. No boat, no ship, nothing. And somehow he had some expectation and he waited there. And the next day he saw a ship coming to his island. And that particular ship came for his rescue because those people got his message which he put in his water bottle. Those fellows in the ship retrieved that water bottle and saw that there is a particular boy or there is a particular person stuck up in that island and they came for his rescue. Okay, and Mr. Ben was rescued after years. So what do you understand from this story? What do you think? Mr. Ben was not rescued earlier? Of course, he did not communicate to the world that this particular fellow is there. Nobody knew that Mr. Ben was stuck up in that island. If he had this idea before to send a message, maybe somebody should have come to rescue him earlier. Okay, so what happened is a person who doesn't communicate is like an island. So it is important for us to communicate. Okay, so what do you think is this communication? As we said, communication is an art. And when you master this art of communication, your social life will glow up. People will surround you. You will become a star in the society. Wherever you are, people will come for you if you are an effective communicator. Okay, there will be always people who will listen to you, love to listen to you. Okay, that is what we all like, right? When you talk, you want that people should listen to you, right? So, for that, let us learn how can you be an effective communicator. And before that, let's see what is communication. Communication is actually, a process where we create and share ideas. Okay, there is an idea within you. You need to create it and then only we can share it. Okay, if you are given an idea and if you are an artist, you should draw a picture or you should paint a picture. Then only you will be able to create that idea. And then you are sharing it with your friends. Okay, then only people know like what idea you have in your mind. So ideas should be created and shared. Then it becomes communication. Okay. So let us see what are the barriers. Barriers means the interruptions. The interruptions that may occur in the process of communication. What do you think the barriers that occur in the process of communication? There are many, right? There could be internal barriers and there could be external barriers. Barrier in the sense the interruptions. Okay. So if you have the cultural difference. See, if I'm talking in a different language, suppose I'm talking Spanish or Italian and my audience doesn't know it, then that communication is a failure. Because the sender and the receiver, the speaker and the audience will have different languages and there will be problem of understanding. So there should be a common language, right? So this cultural difference or language difference is a barrier in communication. And there are external barriers, of course. If there is a heavy rainfall, sometimes you will not be able to listen to what your teacher is saying in the class. If there is heavy rainfall. Suppose your school is next to a railway track and when the train passes, you won't be able to listen to what your teacher says. That is an external barrier, right? And if there is so much noise and noise pollution, that is also become an external barrier. If there is 1,000 to 2,000 audience and you are standing in front of the mic to deliver a speech, unfortunately electricity went and your mic is not working, then your communication will not reach to the last of your audience. These are all what we say barriers in communication. There could be different barriers such as cultural differences, of course, which is something that we should pay more attention to. Okay. Now let us discuss what is the process of communication. What are the factors that constitute the process of communication? There are 8 things that comes in communication. First of all, let us get familiar with the word source or center. Source or center is the opening or the beginning of communication. We need a center. We need a person to speak. Okay, then only we can listen to it. So we need a center or a source to begin the process of communication. And of course, we need an idea to be communicated. This particular idea which we are going to communicate is called a message. So, first is center. Center is the beginner of communication, or center is the source of communication. Okay. And center needs a message to be communicated. Now, I am telling you what are things that are there in your Communicative English textbook. So, I am the center and the message is your textbook. Your first year Communicative English textbook is the message. Okay. And then you are the receiver now because you are listening to me. Okay. And what is the channel we are using for communication? Channel means the mode of communication. How I am communicating to you. Whether it is face-to-face communication or whether we are using an online platform or a social media or whether I am sending you an email or a letter. This is what the channel. Channel is the mode or the medium of communication. Now you understand 4 things. center or source. If a teacher is taking class, teacher is the center and the students are the receivers. And whatever the teacher is taking, now I am taking unit 1. So now unit 1 is the message. Okay. The idea to be communicated is called a message in communication. And then how the teacher is taking class. That is what we say, the channel of communication, the medium of communication. Okay. So the first 4 things is clear to you, right? And the next thing is, sender has to encode this message. You know what is encoding? Encoding is using the proper format to transfer the message. Okay. See, the idea is within the mind of the sender. Okay. Suppose I am telling you this, I have to speak. Suppose I am mailing you, I need to type. That is what we mean by encoding. If it is a letter, I need to write it down. If it is a picture, I should draw it. Okay. This is what we mean by encoding the message, using the proper format to transfer this idea from the sender. Who can encode the message? Of course, only the sender can encode the message. And who will decode it? When the receiver receives the message, he decodes it. Decoding means to understand the message. Okay. Now you learn 6 things, right? Sender or source, message, channel, receiver, and encoding is done by the sender. Encoding means using the proper format to transfer the message. Okay. And then decoding is done by the receiver. I mean, how the receiver is understanding the message. And the 7th thing is that every communication is taking place in a particular situation, right? Now, ours is a kind of classroom communication. Of course, we are not in classroom, but of course, we are taking a class, right? So, this is a situation. And the situation is called the context in a communication. And then, to make the communication effective, you should know, what was the result of communication. Whether we need to stop the communication or to modify it in a better way, or whether we should continue it. How do we know? We should get a feedback, right? Once the communication has taken place, we should know the feedback. Okay. So then only we can modify the communication. This feedback is the last thing. Okay. So we learn 8 things in the process of communication. First is sender or source, and then receiver. Receiver is the one who receives the message, and message is the idea to be communicated. And we learn what is a channel of communication. Channel means the medium of communication. And then we learn sender has to encode the message. Okay. And then receiver has to decode it to understand it well. And we also learned that every communication is taking place in a situation, and that situation is called the context of communication. And lastly, feedback is a response of the communication. As per the feedback, we modified. Of course, you know that whenever you avail some services, you will be called by that particular company to know the feedback, whether you are satisfied with that service or whether you are satisfied with that particular product and all, right? From our telephone companies, we always get this feedback calls, right? So you know what is feedback. I mean, it is a response of communication. It is a result of communication. That is what the teacher takes in class, right? After taking the class, she will ask you a question. And you say, I'm sorry, miss, I don't know. Then teacher understood. Okay, I have to simplify it once again. Then only it will be much more understanding for you. So this is a feedback. So I hope that's enough for today. So we learned what is communication. Communication is the art of creating and sharing ideas. If you want to have a good social life, you should be an effective communicator. Okay? And after that, we discuss what are the barriers that occur in the process of communication. Barriers means interruptions, obstructions that comes in the process of communication. We see that there are internal barriers and external barriers. Okay? And after that, we discuss the process of communication and the 8 factors that affects the process of communication. You can definitely expect one-word questions or multiple choice questions from this in your public exam. If you understand my lessons, please remember to like, share and subscribe. Of course, you should post your comments. Then only I can improve. That's what we said. I need your feedback. Okay. Alright. So, thank you very much. Until we meet again with the rest of the portions, it's bye-bye from Tiny Teacher. Stay safe.